We're halfway through Matthew's gospel, and last week, Jesus gave his disciples a pop quiz. He wanted to see how well the disciples understood him. So he asked them, "Who do people say that the Son of Man is? But who do you say that I am?" Peter answered, speaking for the whole group, and he got it right. "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." But now, just a few verses later, Peter goes from the head of the class to the last in the class. Jesus explains what being the, quote, Christ, the Son of the living God, will mean in terms of his own deepening understanding of his identity and his mission. Jesus' understanding is not that of Peter. Jesus knows that he must go to Jerusalem, where he will suffer greatly and be killed, and on the third day be raised. Peter will hear none of this. He is already anticipating the power and the glory that Jesus the Messiah will shed on those closest to him. And so he tries to dissuade Jesus to soften the message, to make his pronouncements more attractive, more user-friendly, more marketable to the general public. In other words, to fit the gospel message to the world rather than the world to the gospel. This confrontation between Peter and Jesus is important for us to understand and to accept. Rather than commending Peter for his loyalty and his desire to protect Jesus from a cruel fate, Jesus fires back with this harshest reply imaginable. "Get behind me, Satan. You are an obstacle to me. You are thinking not as God does, but as human beings do." Jesus expands his exhortation from his disciples to all of us, since we all have the urge to gain the whole world. Somehow wealth and success can delude us into thinking that God is with us. Isn't this precisely what St. Paul warns us of today in the second reading? "Do not conform to this age, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and pleasing and perfect." Are we like Jeremiah in our first reading? Do we recognize how irresistible is God's Spirit? How ultimate is that Spirit? How life-giving is that Spirit? Or do we do all that we can to avoid that Spirit and the demands that the Spirit places on our lives? But the voice of Jesus speaks to us the same invitation he offered to poor, confused Peter. "Whoever wishes to come after me must deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. For whoever wishes to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it." Are we willing to risk doing the outlandish things that love will ask of us? Are we willing to bear the cost of discipleship? I can never hear these words of Jesus in the gospel passage today when he says, "What profit would there be for one to gain the whole world and forfeit his life?" without thinking of one of my favorite scenes in all filmdom, that marvelous scene in the movie A Man for All Seasons. Paul Scofield, playing a restrained and composed Sir Thomas More, is on trial for treason. His former assistant, Richard Rich, played by a very young John Hurt in this 1966 movie, perjures himself at the trial, sealing Moore's fate, execution. As Richard Rich is about to leave the courtroom, Thomas More asks if he might speak to him. The judge allows it. Moore asks if he might see the chain of office that Richard Rich is now wearing. He remarks that it bears a red lion. Cromwell, the persecutor, says that Richard Rich has become the Attorney General of Wales, to which Moore remarks, "For Wales? Why, Richard, it profits a man nothing to give his soul for the whole world, but for Wales?" Sisters and brothers, no one will ever offer us the whole world, tempt us with the whole world, entice us with the whole world, to compromise our integrity, to betray our values, to turn away from our beliefs. No, temptations do not come in global terms. Temptations to compromise come in small, quiet ways, distracting us, confusing us, chipping away at our resolve. encouraging us to set down our cross, for just a little while, to take it easy, to relax a little, to chill out. After all, maybe it's time for somebody else to do a little more. We can turn from our resolve so slowly and so gradually that we don't even notice that we're moving, that we're conforming to this age, until the world is before us and the cross is behind us. But again, the voice of Jesus speaks to us the same invitation he offered poor, confused Peter. Whoever wishes to come after me must deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. For whoever wishes to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. How much do we compromise our answer to that call? How faithful are we to carrying our cross wherever that may lead? An ancient saying in the medieval church was per crucem ad lucem. Per crucem, through the cross, ad lucem, to the light. Per crucem ad lucem, through the cross to the light. The cross in each of our lives does not simply lead into darkness, but rather it leads us through darkness to the light that is eternal.